Welcome to the Lunchtime Broadcast, where we highlight the news making waves ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports, and economic news. Here are the headlines. Muinjangue quits Nudo presidential race. NIPDB launches Namibia's first ever fatty oils export guide. And Namibia Diamond Trading Company cautiously optimistic about 2024. I am Glenora Shipura, and this is NMH at 1. In our midday news update, Julia Mutudana, Executive Director of Talent, Innovation and Productivity at the Namibia Investment and Procurement Development Board, this morning welcomed medium and small and medium enterprises to the launch of Namibia's first ever fatty oils export guide to help business owners, especially in local cosmetics, to navigate the global market for their product sales.
Meetings, peer learning markets, intelligence webinars and workshops. So our intended impact is through this export guide, we aim to empower MSME within the cosmetic sector with key insight to penetrate the European market. And yes, Namibia can. And so ultimately, we would like to see you selling your products in major markets across Europe and creating sustainable employment opportunities for Namibians. I thank you.
Visual News highlights local stories from across Namibia. On the other side of the break, we get into that.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
Neopaints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neopaints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neopaints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
In our visual news, Namibia Diamond Trading Company CEO Brent Asip says he is cautiously optimistic about 2024, owing, among others, to a limitation in Russia's participation in the diamond industry and the growth of synthetic diamonds. Let's take a look.
We took some measures, which I'll also touch on a little bit later, in terms of providing some relief for particularly for the sightholder community. And on the back of that, we've seen some stability during the first 2 months of 2024. And I think looking at the rest of the year, I must say the jury is still out in terms of how the rest of the year will pan out. But we remain cautiously optimistic. And I think I mentioned the team earlier. We remain focused at NTTC in terms of making sure that we take the necessary measures, strategic measures, to be able to navigate the business through these difficult times.
In our next segment, the newspaper review takes us into the top stories in Namibia's daily newspapers right after this.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Let's take a look at today's daily newspapers, starting off with the Namibian Sun's front page, which reports that the first woman to ever lead a political party in Namibia, National Unity Democratic Organization President Esther Muinjangue, has withdrawn from the race to lead the party for another term, Namibian Sun has learned. The Namibian Sun reports that Muinjangue, who was appointed as Deputy Health Minister, shocked the party's National Executive Committee on Saturday when she announced that she will not be part of those vying to lead Nudo for the next 5 years. The party, through its Secretary General Joseph Kawandenge, yesterday confirmed that Muinjangue will not be on the ballot paper when over 500 party delegates converge on the 12th and 13th of July for Nudo's elective Congress. On the paper's page 3, it reports that the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Namibia, through the Bible Society of Namibia, has asked its congregants to each donate $20 Namibian to raise $2 million Namibian for the printing of the Holy Book in local languages. In a letter dated the 9th of April, Reverend Johannes Simaneka Nkoti wrote to Gloria Dai of the Alcian Church in Ongwediva, appealing for financial assistance for a group of vernacular Bible translators based in Odangwa. Nkoti said both the local Bible Society and that of Angola lack funding to translate and print the Holy Book in Oshindonga, Oshikwanyama, Kokokohwap, Rukangwali, and Oshiherero. Moving on to the Republicans' front page. According to the Republican, Luderit's view of Shark Island may soon only be recorded in the history books, like the atrocities committed by the German colonial rulers on this island against Nama and Herero prisoners of war. The Schutztruppers concentration camp on the northern tip of the island was used from March 1905 to April 1907 for forced labor and to exterminate prisoners of indigenous tribes. Namport plans to expand the Luderitz harbor, and during the first phase of the expansion project, 6 hectares of land next to the current harbor and adjacent to the east of Shark Island will be laid dry. The existing Robert Harbour quay wall will be extended by 250 meters. The construction process could start as early as 2025 if approval is in place and could be completed within 24 months. On to page 3, the paper reports that the Namibian Competition Commission has found that commercial banks in Namibia conspire to manipulate fees for transactions with credit and debit cards. The NACC says the agreement entered into by the Payments Association in Namibia with the banks to set fees for credit and debit cards is a breach of provisions 23.1 and 23.2a of the Competition Act No. 2 of 2003. According to the Commission, the banks all accepted a schedule for card fees and set transaction costs for purchases on debit and credit cards from at least 2014 to 2020. Moving over to the Allgemeine Zeitung's front page, Recon Africa seems to be stirring again, reports the Allgemeine Zeitung, now having announced the resumption of its exploration activities in 2023 for January 2024 and allegedly sent its workers home on vacation. It is now looking to rehire its staff. A share issue has provided funds that are to be used for exploration activities. The paper's page 3 informs that after a farmer near Grootfontein shot at the trekker dog Troy, a voice message from the farmer's wife has been leaked in which she describes the incident. Meanwhile, the events are doing the rounds on social media. Now, on the other side of the break, we continue with more newspaper review.
Hallo Namibia, ons is by die kus en ons is lus.
Terwyl by die Easter Shark.
Okay. Okay, so
Yes. Please, today you make sure that we are fed.
sorry, ek is nie.
Still with our newspaper review, the Namibian leads with a report that some Nankutwe combined school pupils sometimes sleep outside their classrooms on the school premises because the tents they normally sleep in are in a dilapidated state. The school is situated on the floodplains on the Kabe South constituency in the Zambezi region, which often becomes inaccessible due to floods. As a result, about 190 pupils are camping at the school to be able to attend classes. Community members say that they are concerned about the children's well-being. On the Namibian's page 3, the Namibian police are working with officials in neighboring countries and members of the public to apprehend the remaining suspects who escaped from the Katima Mulilo police station last week, reports the Namibian. Now they have called on the public to assist the police by providing information that may aid in the investigation. Moving over to the New Era's front page, members of parliament have taken issue with a paltry 5% royalty rate that Namibia receives from domestic mining operations. In the extractive industry, the relevant legislation stipulates the 5% royalty rate and requires trust funds for decommissioning. The royalty rates are very low and fail to promote value addition because the commodities are exported in raw form. Only about $8 billion Namibian was collected from royalties for 5 years. This is very small compared to the revenue from mines in the same period, reads a joint report tabled in the National Assembly last week. Over to the New Era's page 3, the Trade Union Congress of Namibia will interrogate the government's action on economic transformation, job creation and resource redistribution at its upcoming elective Congress. This is according to TACNA Secretary General Muhangora Kavihua during a recent interview with this publication ahead of the union's 5th elective Congress slated for the 29th to the 30th of April in Walvis Bay. The Congress will also review some of TUCNA's policy proposals, take stock on and gauge the union's achievements and shortcomings. Moving over to Market Watch, Mines Minister Tom Alwindo says it is still too early for Namibia to start entertaining talks around joining oil cartel, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. Industry insiders said OPEC was eyeing setting up Namibia for membership, having lost Angola in recent years. Reuters reported recently Alwindo paused any suggestions around Namibia's possible membership. It's rather too early to consider the issue, he said in response to questions by Market Watch following suggestions that Namibia had been approached on the matter. That brings us to the end of our newspaper review. Moving on, Capricorn Group has backed an international accolade for the design of their state-of-the-art office facilities in Client Windhoek. We'll delve into this after the break. Getting into our economic news, on the 28th of March, the Capricorn Corner building Capricorn Group state-of-the-art office facilities in Kleinwindhoek earned an Excellence in Design for Greater Efficiencies Advanced Green Building certification from the International Finance Corporation. The certification, presented by Edge certification partner Green Business Building Certification Incorporated, marks the first internationally recognized operational building to be Edge certified in Namibia. This achievement also preludes this year's World Earth Day, highlighting the group's progress in environmental stewardship. The IFC is the private sector arm of the World Bank Group. Edge is an online platform, a green building standard and a certification system for more than 170 countries. It was created in response to the need for a measurable solution to prove the financial case for building green and help jumpstart the mainstreaming of green buildings. Edge empowers building professionals to quickly and easily determine the most cost-effective ways to build green based on occupant behavior, building type, and the local climate. Let's now take a look at our financial indicators. The Namibian dollar trades against the British pound at 23.73, against the euro at 20.49, against the US dollar at 19.24, 2 Namibian dollars and 65 cents gets you 1 Chinese yuan. On the Namibia Stock Exchange, Namibia Breweries Limited went up at 0.03%, while First Rand Namibia Limited went down at 0.50%. Leshaho Holdings Namibia Limited also went up at 2.50%. All the other stock remained the same. The overall index went down at 0.05%, while the local index went up at 0.12%. On the commodities market, all major commodities went down, with Brent crude oil trading at 0.19%, going for $87.08 per barrel.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
In our news from across the continent, the Malian Supreme Court should annul the ruling junta's order to suspend political activities. A group of Malian political parties and civil society organizations said in an appeal on Monday. The West African country has been under military rule since a coup in 2020. Tensions have risen in recent weeks over the authorities' failure to organize promised elections and their subsequent decree that limits political life in the name of maintaining public order. The allied political and civil society groups opposed to the April 10th order said they had turned jointly to Mali's top court with the aim of annulling the decree, which they consider tyrannical and oppressive, they said in a statement. It was not immediately clear when the court might consider the appeal. Mali's current junta seized power in a second coup in 2021 and later promised to restore civilian rule by March 2024 following elections in February of this year. However, the authorities said last September they would indefinitely postpone the February elections for technical reasons, deepening concerns about democratic backsliding in West and Central Africa, where there have been 8 coups over the past 4 years. We are witnessing the restriction of civic space and an attempt to seize power, said Drissa Traore, Secretary General of the International Federation for Human Rights. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Rwanda bill is set to become law after months of standoff in parliament, and he promised on Monday to send asylum seekers to Rwanda within 10 to 12 weeks. With the decree, the Malian authorities are once again confirming their desire to stifle any dissenting voice and to lead Mali into an unprecedented dictatorial regime, he said in a statement on Friday. Moving on to our next story, products such as rice, maize, corn flour, horse mackerel, iodized salt, potatoes, onions, bread, milk, bicycles, and others considered essential remain exempt from value-added tax, as clarified by the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Silvino Moreno. Earlier this year, it will be recalled, the government removed the exemption that had been in place for the marketing of cooking oil, sugar, and soaps. Speaking in the Assembly of the Republic, Moreno explained that the reintroduction of VAT only targeted processed industrial products because it was not that the sector was not fulfilling the purpose for which they benefited from the measure. The exemption from VAT on sugar, oil, soaps, and raw material parts and equipment was approved in 2007 with the aim of protecting the domestic industry, stimulating competitiveness, and reducing the impact on the final consumer price. However, according to the minister, during the implementation of the measure, there was an increase in the cost of the covered products in the market, above 10% at a time when simultaneously the average annual inflation was around 7.6%. Now, after this short break, we'll be taking a look at our international news.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
In our international news, two Malaysian Navy helicopters collided in mid-air as they flew in formation during a rehearsal after a military parade, killing all 10 crew on board. One of the aircraft clipped the rotor of the other before the two crashed into the ground. Footage published on local media showed. The incident took place in the Malaysian town of Lumot, which is home to a Royal Malaysian Navy base. There are no known survivors. All victims were confirmed dead on site, and the remains were sent to the Lumut Military Hospital for identification, said the Royal Malaysian Navy. It added that it would form a committee to investigate the cause of the incident. One of the helicopters, a Hom M5033, with 7 people on board, is believed to have crashed onto a running track. The other, a Fennec M5026, carrying the other 3 victims, crashed into a swimming pool nearby. The state's Fire and Rescue Department said it was alerted to the incident at 9:50 a.m. local time. Malaysia's Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim said in a post on X, formerly known as Twitter, that the nation mourns their heart-wrenching and soul-wrenching tragedy. Condolences to all the families of the victims and prayers for strength to face this calamity, he said. With that brings us to the end of our international news. On the other side of this, we'll take a look at our local sports news rather. African Stars captain Ronald Keshiere remains adamant that his team will secure its second consecutive Debmarine Namibia Premier Football League title next weekend, as the chasing pack will now be required to score too many goals, while hoping that Stars lose by a big margin to turn things around. Regaining title holders Stars and Ongos FC played to a 0-0 stalemate on Sunday afternoon at the Independence Stadium in the second last match of the season. Oshuarango-based outfit Live Fighters became the first confirmed team to be relegated from the 2023 to 2024 Debmarine Namibia Premiership after they were defeated by 3-1 by Eshoke Chula Chula. Elite riders from South Africa and Namibia were in a determined competition for world ranking points. Namibia's Alex Miller and South Africa's Lilian Bapa won the elite men and women's cross-country races at the 2024 Nedbank Namibia UCI Class 1 races that were held at the IJG Trials in Windhoek last Saturday. Winners in the UCI categories were allotted valuable points on the world rankings, which helps them earn better starting positions at the bigger international races in Europe and elsewhere. The Namibia Rhythmic Gymnastic team of 7 and 2 coaches left yesterday to represent the country in the 18th African Championships slated for the 25th and the 26th of April in Kigali, Rwanda. The rhythmic gymnasts will participate in the senior and junior categories. Let's now take a look at our international sports news. Inter Milan won Serie A on Monday after beating AC Milan 2-1 and creating an unassailable lead at the top of the league. Goals from Francesco Acerbi and Marcus Thuram gave Inter a 17-point advantage over closest challengers Milan and secured their 20th league crown with 5 matches of the season remaining. France will host Japan, New Zealand and Argentina in 3 autumn internationals at the Stade de France in November, the French Rugby Federation said on Monday. Antoine Dupont and his teammates play Japan on November 9th, the All Blacks a week later and the Pumas on November 22nd. In their most recent meeting, France beat New Zealand 27-13 in the opening game of last year's World Cup in Paris. Wales will host Fiji, Australia and South Africa during the Autumn Nations Series in November, rugby chiefs announced on Monday. Fiji will provide Wales opening opposition at the Principality Stadium on November 10th, followed by the Wallabies 7 days later than the world champion Springboks on November 23rd. After this short break, we'll be taking a look at the highlights from today's broadcast. Getting into the news highlights from today's broadcast, the Malian Supreme Court should annul the ruling Junda's order to suspend political activities, a group of Malian political parties and civil society organizations said in an appeal on Monday. 2 Malaysian Navy helicopters collided in midair as they flew in formation during a rehearsal for a military parade, killing all 10 crew on board. African Stars captain Ronald Kashere remains adamant that his team will secure its second consecutive Debmarine Namibia Premier Football League title next weekend. And that brings us to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining NMH at 1 this Tuesday afternoon. From me, Glenn Rashipura. Until next time.